And we are live, guys! Welcome to another live stream from Men of High Value channel. My name is Joseph Darling. Today we're going to delve a little bit deeper into leadership. And that's why we're calling this choice versus force. Now, if we're going to go into leadership, we have to think about the big picture and understand how things work long term, okay? When it comes to government, when it comes to raising kids, when it comes to having or selling something, or when it comes to just being human, force is not only unnecessary, it is a complete evil that needs to be done away with. The reason why I say that is because very often in this world today, we try to force each other. This is why tension builds. This is why people end up fighting. This is why people feel there's a lack. And what they do, they end up trying to force the other person, but the fact is, if you're human, you understand that you don't like to be forced. It's built up within us to seek for freedom. And the moment someone opposes us and tries to force us against our will, because it's their will for us to do something, we stand at a lockdown. And we might do it temporarily because we're thinking about the consequences. What are the consequences if I don't follow what this other person is saying to me right now as they're forcing me to do it or to say something? The fact is that what that person has done, he has completely jinxed his leadership. He has completely ruined that relationship with you because he tried to force you. So basically, he has taken over control over you against your will. Now, you have to remember that when you try to become a leader. You should never force anyone, ever, to do what you want them to do. So, what can you do instead? Well, the fact of the matter is that you can choose to have options. It's very critical to have options if you're going to lead someone. Because if that person doesn't want to do it, it's not a problem. You will find someone else to do it. Or you'll figure out ways to create a win-win situation with the person that you really want to force. Because force is not the answer. Because it'll ruin your relationship, it'll ruin the long-term project, it'll ruin whatever it is that you're trying to create. You try to force them, they're done with you. They don't want to be around you anymore. So if you instead choose to seek to understand the other person, why do they not want to do what I'm asking to do, then you will learn more about what it takes to get the other person to do what you want them to do. Right? So you'll actually find answers and educate yourself on how to create a better win-win so that the other person might want to do it. Now, if the other person still doesn't want to do it after you've been trying to find a win-win situation, then the next step simply is to let someone else do it. It's a free market, right? You know, people are allowed to do whatever they want to do. You just basically have to choose to make them, the people that didn't want to do what you wanted them to do, make them less of a priority and choose someone else to do the job. Now, this in some ways kind of relates to every single thing. Sometimes people aren't ready to do what you want them to do, or sometimes the thing you want them to do is not the right thing to do. So you have to make sure that your objective and your goals, and also the way you look at people, is the right way to look at people. Right? That's number one in some ways. In order to be a leader, you have to recognize that I respect other people, I like other people, and I never hate anyone. Like, why, like, don't bring, what's up with that? We don't hate people, okay? We're neutral, right? And we lean towards liking everyone. Of course, that is very difficult, and you'll never get to that point. Probably. It's going to take you a long time to develop yourself to become, but most of the time we can choose to like people. And the only reason why we don't like people is because we do not understand where they're coming from and their thinking processes. Really, if you had taken the time to really learn about a person and really getting to know that person, you will end up liking him. And of course there are a few exceptions to that, because you know, there's just some people, but at the same time, if you look at the glass and look at it being half full, then in some ways you'll be positive about that person too. You'll manage to find good qualities about that person. Maybe that he does not see himself, because like, imagine that this person is just pure evil, and I can promise you that this person does not see the good things in himself, even though they're there. So if you manage to look past what he feels about himself and compliment him on things, then that other person will actually soften up to you, and maybe soften up to the world. So this is leadership, this is personal development, this is working with people, trying to figure things out in this world, because we're just all people here trying to the best we can to solve our problems. And sometimes we just make completely irrational decisions. Sometimes we do things that the world is like, what was he thinking? But really, all of these things come back to our childhood. All of these things come back to the environment that we've been around. Now, if we can change those environments, then we can change the world. And if we can learn how to not force others to do what we want them to do, we've come a very far way to understanding them, and that's when we can take them to the next step. So think about that. We'll delve more into it over time, but let's see if you can manage to allow people to choose what they want to do instead of forcing them. Because I can promise you that that will solve a lot of issues in the world if we allow people to do what they want to do when they want to do it, as long as they don't infringe upon that choice of others. Suddenly, if you've done that, if you've crossed the border of I can do whatever I want to do, but you've crossed the border in terms of not allowing others to do what they want to do, then you've created issues. So think about that. This is the Men of High Value channel, and I'll see you again tomorrow.